Mark Morris's work is so important to many people, and it was important to me even before I joined the company. It was something, his work always spoke to me, as I know it speaks to many people. And I think that is because he has a unique way of getting to his point, getting to the heart of what he's trying to say in a pared down way. But he always makes it interesting, and it has something special that you didn't expect.
Mark is the creator of all the ideas of the piece. It's collaborative in the sense that sometimes he has an idea and he won't give you the steps exactly to make it, but we all as a group achieve the concept or the image that he's asking for, and that requires imagination and collaboration on the part of the dancers. But when it comes to vocabulary and overall vision, it's all coming from Mark. And so part of working for him is really training to learn how to learn his style as well as possible, and also how to be as adaptable as possible, because he draws from so many influences in his work. There's ballet and there's modern dance and flamenco, and he'll borrow from classical Indian dance and Indonesian dance. And so it's a process of learning how to just keep your body as open as possible to different ways of moving.
The thing about being an artist, you can do whatever you want. There isn't a school that teaches you how to do that. You can learn skills, and you can learn some craft, and you can learn, tricks and techniques. I didn't go to school ever. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to the Institute of Choreography, whatever, if there is one. I was never there. And so what I do is whatever I think is what should happen. And I think things through very deeply and long, and sometimes I'll make up something in real time. It's like, go like this, everybody does something, and I say, well, that's it. That's now part of the dance. Or I'll work on something for months or years like this. I just can't get this thing right. So I'm not after a particular product. When I start something, I don't have really much of an idea how it's going to finish. I know that I have to follow certain routes through the piece as I make it up in order to notice when it's finished, when it's resolved itself. So that's different all the time. If there's a linear narrative, there's text. If it's 2 people versus 12 people, everything changes all the time. And so for me to decide that this part has one person, just making that sort of decision. This part is exactly on the beat. This part is over periods of time. This part refers to a dance form from another period. This reminds me of something. This, I have no clue what's going on. This part, we're acting out the text. I approach it from many different angles, and then I calibrate, I adjust, I arrange, I throw stuff out, I put stuff back in, I change the order of it, and then somehow, not just because I've run out of time and it has to be opening night, it's also that's it. And if I keep fooling around with it, it's going to get worse. Like if you try and refrost a cake, it never gets better. So it's like, done. I have to now leave that alone. And so that's a skill that you learn, and I'm not always right, but I have a good instinct, and I work with great artists, so that's kind of makes it, in a way, easy.
I think all musicians respond to Mark Morris because he loves music so much and his dances are so musical. In fact, that's the cliche you say about Mark Morris. See the music, hear the dance, or something like that. Mark is notable, not the only one, but he's notable for bringing out the music on stage in a literal way, in a delightful way, sometimes kind of a humorous way, sometimes in an abstract way, but I think people who love music love Mark Morris. There's no doubt about it.
With Mark's work, he has a way of including a lot of popular culture, especially dance history culture. So there's a lot of natural movement, and it's all encompassing with just moving and stepping, walking, running. But it's also very athletic. There's a lot of partnering, a lot of lifting, and again, we do a lot of social dance research. It's just wonderful and lots of fun.
So everywhere we go, we do at least some outreach, teaching at the university that we're near and teaching classes for the community, and it's an essential part of what the group does. We're always interested in doing as much of it as possible because the work that we do isn't just for the people in the audience. It's something that we do for the community, and it teaches people about what dance is, about what art can be, and also gives them a sense in their own bodies of what they can do, and hopefully a sense of possibility for more. So that's especially why I love teaching these community classes, because you have people who don't see themselves as dancers, and then they're dancing. In the community classes, the ones that we teach that are called Dance for MMDG are open all ages. So from 3 till as high as you can get. And that's just that class is designed to be open to all. We make it accessible for everyone. And then there are other classes that we do that are more for advanced dancers or conservatory students or professional level dancers. We have intensives at our building where for 2 weeks we have a bunch of young, usually dancers in college, sometimes professional, sometimes younger, who come and train with us and learn the repertory. And so that's a much more specific and professional level experience. But we like to be able to do it all.
Hello. Very nice that you all stayed. So I'm Alistair Spalding. I'm the artistic director here at Sadler's Wells, and I have Mark Morris beside me. I also have Ethan Iverson, who did all the arrangements and played tonight. We have Lauren Grant, who was one of the dancers. And Domingo Estrada, who is another one of the dancers. So, this is a little bit unusual tonight because, as well as you lovely people here, we have a worldwide audience on Facebook Live.
And they're really lovely.
They're lovely. And the reason we're doing that is because this is just the beginning of a tour of the Mark Morris Dance Group. They will be in the UK for many weeks to come. I was going to say until we leave. No, I won't say that. for many weeks to come in this turbulent time, but they will bring joy to the UK and to many cities around the country. So all of the joining venues are having their live Facebook Live on their website. So that's going out to all of those people. So there will be questions from you, but there will also be questions from the people out there on Facebook. And Rosanna is there, and she will tell us when we have a question from the Facebook people. So I'm going to ask a few questions of my own, and then I'll hand over to you. And so, Mark, first one is about the commission, because this was a commission, so that's pretty unusual for you, is it, to have a specific commission about something? Has that happened very often to you?
No. I'm commissioned to do stuff by theaters and producers who want me to do something, but they never really get to say what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I won't do something I hate.
Yeah.
Good advice, everyone. Don't do much that you hate. Do enough that you can then do what you like after that. So, no, it was the idea of Sean Doran, who put together the festival in Liverpool. I don't know, whenever the 5th, was that 2 years ago or something?
2 years
it was
ago,
forever.
yeah.
I don't know, it was a while ago. For the 50th anniversary of the release of this album, which was, please remember, only an album and never a live show, never a touring show, just a studio thing. So I've known him for a long time, and he's great, and he asked me if I would do it, and I was very much unsure if I would, because I don't listen to the Beatles all day long. I'm sorry, Beatles, but I don't listen to them all day long.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because, how did you react to that idea? I mean, did you have an affinity? You obviously say you didn't have an affinity with them.
No, I didn't say that, Alistair. What happened was I didn't listen to it every day since I was, 10 or 12 or something. I loved it. I, like everybody else, had a giant crush on Paul McCartney, of course. And I loved the music for a while, but I wasn't that much into popular music in general. It wasn't like the Rolling Stones instead. For me, it was just like, what is this interesting music? So I loved it, and you can't escape it, whether you want to or not. It's always playing, and you know it. So when he asked me to do this, I was like, well, let me check. It's been like 30 years since I listened to that. Yeah. And so I listened to it, and I really liked it, which was a relief, because we decided to do the show from that.
Okay. And then you didn't just play it's rather complicated working with this material, isn't it, musically, because there are various restrictions over it, but you decided to do something very unusual with the musical arrangement.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the thing about this material is it's everyone's folklore at this point. If you're a human, if you're a Western human, maybe I should say, you're already an expert in the Beatles and an expert in Sgt. Pepper. So I think both Mark and I knew that we didn't need to explain what the record was in this work, but instead we could use it as a piece of folk material that everyone understood, not unlike there's like a new production of Hamlet, and okay, we'll do something incredibly revolutionary with this material everybody understands. That's more the perspective I think we had coming into it.
And quite an unusual arrangement of instruments too, including the theremin, of course. Maybe you should explain what the theremin is.
Well, everybody's mad about the theremin, and everybody forgets, I'm sorry to say, the gentleman Rob Schwimmer who plays the theremin is fabulous, but every single person playing in the pit is a super genius. It's just that everyone's so shocked and horrified by the sci-fi aspect of the fabulous theremin. Go on, Ethan.
Well, I was Mark's music director for 5 years, and one of the things Mark really opened me up to was the wonderful world of obscure and abstract music played by crazy people. Someone like Harry Partch. I mean, if you think theremin is bad, let's try to do a Harry Partch opera. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of stuff I learned back then about embracing something between world music and something between experimental and something between folk. That's key to Morris's aesthetic. And I saw Rob Schwimmer play Bach at a concert, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. And like the next week, I called Mark and I said, man, I found a musician for you. You will like this musician. And then that was before I knew about Pepperland. And when Pepperland came down, I was like, okay, that's it. We got to get Rob in there for Mark.
And how closely do you work together after that when you're composing and thinking about structures? Every day, talk every day, work in the studio together?
One thing I thought was that I was supposed to do the whole album. Oops. I was intended to do like one number, but I couldn't stop, so we did, 6 that we do that he arranged? But I decided to do it. He agreed to do it. I only work with living musicians, and so to choose the numbers, to try and get the rights, and to start work, because it was a very short turnaround. So I started rehearsing in the studio with the recording and with just counting and just ideas, and he was working from the same source.
We had to work pretty fast. And that was sort of stressful, but also meant you just had to produce, you know.
Okay. So, Lauren, Domingo, you probably used to dancing to different kinds of music, but this is a very different challenge, isn't it? It's a different kind of world and different beat. And how did it feel for you?
Well, there's a lot that we love about that. There's a blues number, and each of us takes a solo, and we're just going with what's happening in the pit, which is also, I think, somewhat improvisatory. So you don't know what's going to happen. You get out there, you hear it, you do something, and it's completely on the spot within the structure that Mark gave us. So it's a very live, very vibrant moment and experience. And we feel that immediacy, and hopefully the audience does as well. So there's nothing pat about it.
And as Ethan was saying about the musical arrangement being more of a folk base and geared toward how Mark works, and all of the works that he has choreographed prior to the Beatles and this one in particular, especially with the groovy compilation of music, it's very fun, and we get in tune with how the arrangement is by each section and with Mark's work, and it becomes very natural and fun.
There's something also similar to everything we do with Mark, because musically everything's very interesting, and the way Mark treats the music and has the dance set to the music, it's not just the same beat, but we're doing different things all the time, and counterpoint and canon, and so all of that is in here in the same deep way that it might be in something we do to Mozart. And Ethan's also given some great challenges in, like, When I'm 64, I think, is there a 3, a 4, and a 5 happening simultaneously?
Yes.
And at first that was quite challenging for the dancers to be able to dance to that. And the more we practiced and the more Mark and Ethan, I think, helped us hear that and move to that, we got better, and we can just do that. I'm not sure a lot of dancers can do that, but the way that we work with Mark and the way he trains us, we're somehow able to get to that point.
Yeah, that looked pretty tricky, that moment.
You know, I have something to say about the dancers, actually, because I first started to play for Mark for dance class, and I played for dance class a lot over the years, and once in a while I still do. And I can tell, even though there's no sound in a dance class, I can tell how good the rhythm of the dancers are, just the feeling in the room. And it's always a pleasure to play for the Mark Morris dancers because the rhythm is so good.
Nice.
That's great. Rhythm is not as popular as I would like it to be.
One last question for you, Mark, actually,
Okay.
is then how you, why you set this kind of West Coasty. Is it West Coasty? The design and the look, the sunglasses?
No.
Where is it then?
The designs are, the colors and the cuts of the costumes are absolutely Carnaby Street. They're entirely mod. They're sourced from that. Absolutely, certainly they are. And the period, it's pre-hippie. I messed up with the sunglasses. Those are to represent the government of North Korea and the fascist governments that people were rebelling against during the time of the Vietnam War. So it's related to that. But also, please remember, what's this called? English people of Great Britain, people of England and Ireland, people who are proud of everything and so thrilled that Beatlemania, as it was termed, was way bigger in the States just because there are more people. That's all.
Okay. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
So, yep. Okay, it's over to you. We have a Facebook question straight away. Rosanna.
Bridget from the Dance Consortium Facebook page is asking, what has been your favourite aspect of working on Pepperland?
My favorite, well, I'm sorry, but my favorite aspect of it is that I'm done and it's a hit and I get to watch it every night. So I'm done with that, but, you know, I'm here for the ride and to watch it and to keep track of it.
And others, you can join in.
I'm going back to this not being a work that is very similar to any of Mark's other works. He works in very classical music and working on operas, so it's a lot of fun and energetic and very vibrant for us as dancers in a way that we like to dance socially, and it's incorporated in this dance.
Haven't you want to say anything?
Well, I have a cliche I say about this. This is like a riff, a prepared riff, essentially. I say it a lot of the interviews, but there's a lot of social action, you know, maybe connected to things like Facebook, and that's really great. And there's a lot of art that's determined to tell us about the problems of our planet, and that's undoubtedly very important. But I'm very happy in Pepperland that it has absolutely no redeeming value, that it's politically just what it is, and we just want everybody to feel joy at the end. You know?
Okay. That's great. We need that. Also, why the choice of instruments? And has Paul McCartney seen it?
I don't think Mr. McCartney is interested in seeing Beatles projects exactly. That's my suspicion anyway. Maybe he'll show up. It's possible. Mr. Starr, too.
I saw him at the Wolseley once.
But Mark said in another interview, this question has come up, and Mark said, this piece isn't for the Beatles, the remaining Beatles. And that's true. Pepperland is not for Paul and Ringo, probably.
It's for Yoko Ono.
Now, if she came, I'd be psyched.
Exactly.
That would be cool.
Instruments.
Oh, instruments.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of Mark's work that I saw, it seemed like it was very specific to people and specific to idiom. And if someone was a genius, you should try to hire them and work around them. That's also sort of an American music ethos. Duke Ellington, almost my #1 hero, he said, the composition is begun when the instrumentalists are chosen. And so I had certain people that I wanted to work with, Rob being one of them. Everyone in the pit is extraordinary, and that's sort of how this particular chamber ensemble came to be, was just, you know, let's get the best and the brightest and the most weird, and then proceed from there.
This is a question for Lauren and Domingo. What is it that you love about dance?
Oh, I mean, aren't we just born wanting to move and to a rhythm, you know, and then we lose that. You know, Mark always talks about how little kids, they want to skip to go somewhere. They don't want to walk. You know, it's more fun. And then that somehow gets sucked out of us, and we sit at computers, or we sit at our desks, or we sit in a car, or we sit on the couch. So I feel lucky that I get to do this, and I teach a lot, and I always tell my students how lucky they are. You know, they could be doing something else entirely, but what a joy to move to music. And then what an even greater joy to do that for Mark, who has this amazing vision in the way that he synthesizes the sound and the movement. And so it's a very nourishing experience for me. It's challenging. He pushes us to grow and not to just be caricatures of ourselves. That would be very easy to do. So I get to change as an artist as I work with him, always, and I think that changes who I am as a person. So I love it.
As for me, I just like to cut loose. But to expand on that, I really enjoy dance because I've always been a mover with athletics, and then found dancing as I got older. But I'm also a creature of habit, and so I love discipline and the discipline of dance, and the creativity and the expression that comes with the art. And Mark has a wonderful way of giving that to all of us so that we can be satisfied with our career and our passions.
Yeah, so we're talking about the when I'm 64. So you're talking about that those cross rhythms. Tell us about what was going on there, Evan, and how cruel it was to make these dancers do that.
I want to say something about that. A friend who I danced with her, I don't know, many decades ago, a wonderful dancer, came to see this show, and she said, watching it, she's about my age. Can we say pushing 64? And because the one option would have been, follow the bouncing ball, a giant mob of people drinking a pint and weeping as they sing along, karaoke style with When I'm 64. That would make a lot of money for a festival if you wanted to do that. But we didn't, and he'll tell you why. But she watched this and said that watching that dance, the way it starts one way and then changes and sort of deteriorates, she said it was this is sad, she said it was a perfect sort of metaphor for getting old. Go ahead, Ethan.
Well, I think swing is very important. And it's very important to American jazz. And When I'm 64, that's sort of like music hall. That's just an echo of American jazz in that. And in a certain way, you can't double down on swing. You can if you're playing the Village Vanguard with a great jazz drummer, but if you're out here playing for dance, more like musical theater, what you actually maybe want to do is carve out more abstract rhythms, and that in the intellectual gamesmanship of that, it actually starts to swing another kind of swing, but we're hoping it's engaging. I'm very sorry about the headache.
Yeah, so the question is about the silver foil, and apparently there are no mountains in Liverpool. There are mountains near Liverpool, but not in Liverpool. Mark, what's going on?
You said silver foil. How did you know that? It's true. This is very simple. This set was designed by the very, very great scenic designer Johan Henkens, who's known for a lot of his theater work over the last decades. You can look him up. And here's the story. When we were going to go to Liverpool to do the festival, I said, oh, by the way, can I have a set, please? It was like, well, no, sorry, there's no time and there's no money and there's no money to ship it. I wanted like a spiral staircase and a fountain and a chandelier and a helicopter and video monitors and, the usual. And so, okay, good. I want to catch up there. So I wanted something super shiny like the proto-fascist reflective sunglasses that eliminate personality, but also relate to kaleidoscope eyes, looking glass eyes, kaleidoscope, whatever. You know all the songs, you can source that material. So I wanted something that was shiny and kind of reflective and, psychedelic a little bit. It wasn't originally intended to be what it's become, which is a little bit of a mountain range. So it's secretly, I was looking at different materials. This is the secret, but it's the truth, which is it's comprised of a little frame of wood and those blankets that if you're dying of hypothermia after running a marathon, it comes in a packet the size of a little tissue packet, and it opens up to human size, and that's why it looks like what we call the Alps of this piece. We call this pepper horn, just so you know. And we're aware that it's not very mountainous in Liverpool.
It's an austerity set.
Yeah, cheap.
Yeah. So the question is how much inspiration the dancers give you, Mark?
Well, you always skip the part where they say, I love the show, thank you so much. You don't translate that part to our broadcast public. It's like, that's important to us.
She also said she loves the show, by the way.
Yeah, it starts with, I love the show. And what was your question? Oh, no. Okay. The dancers. It's about the dancers. Here's the thing. If there weren't dancers, guess what there wouldn't be? A show or a dance company. I would have these mad ideas, and I could just think about them. I choose not to. I don't make up dances in my head. I make up dances on the people I work with. I adore them, and we also work very, very closely. And some of it is absolutely determined and designed and it's very, very meticulously rehearsed and figured out, and it's brutal and difficult and takes a long time. And some of it is like, I like that. that's the dance, do that. Or I want it to look like something's happening. You know, the clouds are passing over the moon, go. And so all of that works. I work only with adults. Can you imagine? They're great, and they have a long career because they're treated pretty well for a dance company. Let me just say, single rooms on tour, which is a big luxury for dancers, as shocking as that might be. Health insurance, I pay them. It's not like they show up and dance. You know, it's not just a favor. Yeah, and you know, it's a pretty humane schedule, and I have a size company where if you don't want to talk to somebody, you can. There's enough people where you can have your own clique for a little while. But also, dancing is kind of great, and I don't want to see just the same old tired stuff night after night. And so I have people who have imaginations and are literate and intelligent and responsible and kind of fun. That helps. And, you know, there's a lot of time in airports and hotels and, you know, waiting for things. And, you know, we realize that everyone tells us all the time, well, you're not in New York. It's like, well, I know. That's what I like, but it's also, the service could be a little bit faster sometimes.
Surely not in London. Is there
No.
Yes, up there, yes. You can shout, yeah. So the question, she loved the show.
Thank you, okay.
The question is, do the colors in the costumes make you feel different? Lauren?
Interesting. You know, my job is to get out here and do what I do, so I think I would just do that, but I suppose it does do something. We love the vibrancy of the costumes, and it does pep us up. And you know, it's the kind of show where when you're not in a section, you don't just walk away. We're all watching each other and smiling, and I think it does affect us, as does the music and having this kind of instrumentation, which is slightly unusual for us. When I'm hearing the saxophone and I'm hearing the theremin and I'm hearing our tenor, all of them, it's not. I don't always dance to that, and so yes, it's all of it, and it's Mark putting in these mod steps and the reflection from the back, wearing sunglasses. It's entirely different from anything that we do. And I think that every dance Mark makes is like that. It's entirely different from any of the other things I've done. And that's why, personally, I've been here for decades. Yeah, a really long time, because it's not like doing the same show 8 shows a week for 10 years. It's always different.
Yeah, costumes are really important. For me, it's putting on a personality. The kind of show that I'm going to give lives in the costume. For me, just like in my personal life, when I put on my cowboy boots, I'd rather strut than just walk down the street. So I wish I owned a beautiful purple suit as the one that I have in the show. But it really does make me feel cool and puts me in the essence of the piece, in the atmosphere.
Liz Kurtzman, who was the costume designer, and I, of course, research colors, period saturated colors. There's some missing things, orange or something. Thank God, who wants to watch orange? But I always think I can feel color by wearing it, which is why I wonder why every symphony orchestra that are usually men, and almost every third one is wearing one black sock and one like navy blue sock. And you would think if they're that sensitive aesthetically, musically, and that they'd be able to tell, but that's a hopeless case.
So the question is, what happens in the rehearsal room? What is the process? What's the day-to-day making process?
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, that answer will take 8 hours, but I'll just tell you, the rehearsal, how it works in rehearsal, I know some of the music. I have maybe a few little plans. I come into the studio and I try things out with the dancers. And I see what works. I make up stuff. Even if it's going to be a solo, I work on it with everybody so that I have that material, that physical material that I can move around. And you'll see, obviously, there are thematic motives that reappear throughout the piece that to tie it together to make it more watchable and more sort of continuous, to make a through line of the piece. So everyone in the dance knows every single move that everyone is doing at all times. So consequently, they can fill in for someone who's injured or throwing up or something like that. And it gives a holism to the piece. So everything together, stressing again, live music, live audience, live dancing, instant decisions being made at this exact moment.
Perfect ending to a perfect evening. Sorry. Thank you very much, and hope you have a great tour around the UK. And thank you for coming, and thank you to all those people out there in Facebook land as well. Thank you.
Tell your friends.
Yep.